Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to National Matters Monday edition. We are live and inform your friends and relatives to tune to Camnet TV on channel 274 DSTV, 98 GoTV, and 106 Topstar. In the meantime, you can catch us also on Facebook and YouTube. Tonight, I have a privilege of having in the studio the president of Public Policy Institute, Mr. Fabian Chewe. Did I get it right?
Yes, Institute of Zambia.
Institute of Zambia.
Yes, right.
And welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pastor. It's a pleasure being here. I love your beautiful studio.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please look into that camera and tell the nation, who is Mr. Chewe? What has he done to deserve to be president of such an institute?
Wow. Well, my name is Fabian Chewe, as the pastor has rightly introduced me. Public Policy Institute of Zambia is a non-partisan, non-politically aligned, with the purpose of ensuring that we analyze the policies that government is formulating and giving them advice that can bring about tremendous change in terms of national development. So we exist to ensure that we give timely research advice that is science-based to ensure that the nation is moving in the right direction. And that's the purpose of being here tonight in this studio.
To a lay person like myself,
Yes, Pastor.
how would you define policy? What is policy?
Well, in a layman's, policy is a plan. A policy can be a program. A policy, to be more scientific, and say it's a purposeful course of action on how you are going to solve the problem of a public concern. If now we bring the aspect of public policy, we simply say a public policy is a purposeful course of action that is designed to solve a problem of a particular concern, and that involves state players, that involves politicians who are elected in office to ensure that they enact those policies that will help and solve developmental problems the country is facing.
Fantastic. One of the problems that Zambia has been facing is the problem of employment. Well, I asked that because as a preacher, God has blessed me to understand that God says he will bless the labor of my hands.
Yes.
Not you employing me, then he blesses the labor of my hands so that you can benefit from it.
Yes.
The way I look at employment is from a different angle. I believe that each one of us who were born for greatness,
That's right.
and the owner of Bata is an individual who
right.
started that.
Yes.
I can also start something.
Yes.
You can start something. So I believe in that.
Yes.
But coming down, there is a problem of employment in Zambia. Everyone seems to be just going for employment.
Yes.
How do you assist the government to employ people or to solve the problem of unemployment?
Yeah, you have rightly said it, Pastor. We have a situation. The unemployment the country is facing is not only immune to Zambia. This is a global situation that we have. I may not call it a global pandemic because it has been taken over by coronavirus, which is a major, major challenge the world is facing. But unemployment is what has come to grapple with us, more especially developing countries who have low level productivity in terms of business formation. We're going through a lot in terms of our debt burden that we are shadowed with. So these are issues that actually are creating some of the challenges we are facing in terms of huge, massive job creations. More especially the young people have been hit badly in the area of unemployment. The reason being that we have a lot of graduates that are leaving colleges and universities, but the unemployment rate is far outpaced by the challenges of low job creations. So what we expect comprehensively as a country, and this doesn't take one entity or one organization or one political party, it takes all of us a concerted effort to ensure that we come up with the policies, enact policies that are growth-oriented in terms of opening up the job market. And for those who are individuals, you mentioned those who want to deploy themselves as opposed to being employing by an organization, is to ensure that we give them the enabling environment. Those who have got innovative, creative ideas, those who have ingenuity of thought to actually take risks and move into business, they require a lot of support in terms of being given a lot of incentives. We can extend loans that are of low interest rates to ensure that they're able to actually invest in their businesses. So government has done a lot in terms of partnering with the private sector to ensure that we find solutions in terms of job creations by extending credit to ensure that they're able to create these jobs. So it's a very comprehensive and a very dynamic situation we find ourselves in. But I believe, as you said, you're a man of faith. We can get out of these situations if we're able to put our efforts together to ensure that we take this country forward.
This Public Policy Institute, is it an NGO? Is it connected to the government, or is it government institute? If it's not government, it's an NGO, how often do politicians listen to your advice?
Well, the Public Policy Institute of Zambia is a non-governmental organization created by the Non-Governmental Act of 2009. But most of the
the Act of Parliament.
By the Act of Parliament, of course, yes. Most of the people, when it's created by an Act of Parliament, it becomes an organization that is government, sponsored, so to speak, or government-sanctioned organization. But we operate as an independent organization in the sense that we raise our own funding to do our own research and to provide input to government on policy or on policy advice. So what I can say is that some people have mistaken. They've asked me questions. Are you a government organization? You're called Public Policy Institute of Zambia, but are you a government agency? I said yes, in the sense that we were registered by government, and you cannot register a policy institute. You really have to be backed by government. So the Minister of Commerce and Industry actually wrote a letter to sanction the formation of Public Policy Institute of Zambia, but the PS has to sign that. So that gives us the exclusive mandate to provide checks in terms of providing the required advice. So we're well aware of change to ensure that we give policy advice timely to government to ensure that they're able to move in the right directions. There are times when government has taken our advice, like for instance when we are looking at mineral value chain diversification program, where we're supposed to get value for copper and all the metals that we export. As a Public Policy Institute, Zambia Revenue Authority actually sponsored our participation in that forum. So to the extent that they believe in us, money has to be spent on our behalf to ensure that we also give our policy advice in creating a policy that will sustain and ensure that we get value for our mineral resources.
Talking about policy, Mr. Chewe, are our policies good? Are they beneficial for our nation and beneficial for the region of Zambia?
Okay, it's one thing to have good policies, and I believe Zambia is one of the excellent policies in the region. And I'm sure that people have been coming to copy what we are doing here in Zambia in terms of seeing the input. We have got people that are well informed and educated, knowledgeable enough, scientific in their approach and in their input. So we've got very good policies. But the question remains, I've always said that, you can have a very good policy, but what is important, how do you implement that policy? So policy implementation is where the things really have to be worked out very well. Because there's a kernel of truth that policy is implementation, and implementation is policy. And in that kernel of truth simply means that, yes, we can have good, very good policies, but are we seeing the implementation, giving us the real benefits, the outcomes that we desire as a nation? I can please say that probably we have a long way to go, and we are trying to get it right. As you can see, that there's been an accelerated, pace of creating policies, somewhere between 2000 and between independence and up to where some in 2008. Zambia didn't have policies in so many things. We existed under what you call national development plans. But I think with the coming of movement for multi-party democracy and also PF taking the government in 2011, there's been an accelerated pace ensuring that we have policies for each sector of the economy so that we can move in the right directions. So policy has become something new to us in the last 20 years. But I think we're catching up. But what is required now to ensure that these policies are implemented. Having them written is one thing, but to implement is another thing. And that's where our emphasis must be. that we are not seeing much of those policies being implemented, but there's a starting point.
When you see Chinese people,
Yes, sir.
Asians, Nigerians, whatever, coming into Zambia, starting up bakeries, they are competing with me,
Zambian.
a Zambian, and someone is selling bread. I'm selling bread, and somebody's got eggs there, and another Zambian has eggs there. Is that part of the policy of the government, that whoever will, let them do what they feel like?
No, I don't think that's a policy of the government. You see, what they are seeing are opportunities. I call them, in Zambia, we have what we call low-hanging fruits in terms of making money. Our friends who are coming from the outside world are coming from countries where it is very easy to get loan at a cheaper rate. If you look at China, China is only having 13% of the land space now. Almost 87% of the land has been occupied. So where they're looking for to go out of the country, where they can actually invest, and the population is growing at a rapid pace. So you see that countries like Zambia that has got almost 60 to 80% of arable land inhabited, these become opportunities. Africa has 60% of the land inhabited, which has no people. So they are seeing opportunities where they can know they can make money. And that is posting to their GDP back home where they're coming from. But how much of that money is remaining in the country? And therefore, it requires us to actually enact policies that are ensuring that the people who are coming in the country are investing in businesses that are going to bring more yield, create more employment for the local people, as opposed to him coming and employing himself and getting few Zambians who are actually casualized. So we expect to have, when investors are coming in the countries, we have appropriate legislations that are supposed to come under the Development Agency of Zambia, which is ZDA. It has prescribed mechanisms, it has prescribed procedures and rules they're supposed to follow. They're supposed to play by those rules when they're coming in the country. They can just come here and start growing cabbages and selling chickens at Soweto market. That is a space for Zambian to participate.
But why are they growing?
Yes, we require a lot of inspection, Pastor. This is why we require to have a monitoring system. Remember we said policy is implementation and implementation is policy. So we require now to have a system whereby we create mechanisms to ensure that we begin to enforce the law, to ensure that anyone should play by the books. What is your investment certificate saying? Does it say you should be selling chickens when we are supposed to be investing in a heavy industrial equipment? Does it say you should be able to actually grow tomatoes when you're supposed to open up a brick-making factory in Zambia that will ensure that it contribute to the growth of the construction industry? So these are questions we need to probe ourselves. So we need to ensure that we create a surveillance system that ensures that every person who is involved in illegalities and is not playing by the rules, these people are actually prosecuted and given the exit door, because they are not actually doing what is supposed to be done in regard to what their status entails.
Sorry, I've got a lot of questions that go. You're dealing with policy. I had the privilege of speaking to a highly placed Chinese person in Zambia.
Yes, Pastor.
And what he told me shocked me. He said that the government does not allow individuals to sell cigarettes. That is held by the government. It also does not allow anybody to open up bars, breweries or like Zambia breweries.
Yes.
Beer and cigarettes
Yes.
have been left for the government, because that's where they generate billions of dollars from there, which goes to fund some wings I won't mention.
That is in their country or in Zambia?
In China,
In China,
they
yes.
don't allow. You
Yes.
can't, no matter how much money you have, you can't open up a factory to start making cigarettes
Yes.
and grow tobacco. By the time you know it, if they don't know, your head would have been in the briefcase.
Oh.
Now, would you say that Zambia has anything to hold on to say this is for the government of Zambia? One thing that I also learned, you travel a lot, is that foreigners are not allowed in America to be collecting garbage. because and the firefighters, because that's where there is a lot of money, and that job is only for Americans. I can't just come from Chinsali and join the firefighting or join the garbage collection. There are certain jobs which are prescribed for Americans or Chinese. Has Zambia got such things?
Well, I think when we enacted what you call the Employment Code number 3 of 2020, we have put some caveat or some closures, some closures in terms of who should actually do what he's supposed to do. Because what you are speaking to, Pastor, largely, you're speaking to the aspect of human capital investments and how that human capital can be deployed to develop the nation. And so you rightly mentioned countries like the U.S. As a foreigner, you can't be a medical doctor. You can't be a lawyer. These are for citizens in the U.S. There are certain skills that are actually given privilege. Enrolling in the medical school, enrolling in the law school, is given the privilege is exclusive given to the citizens of the country. Yeah,
but after you qualify,
yes,
you can still practice. I've got a Zambian friend and a Nigerian. They are practicing as doctors after you qualify.
And they have come with a qualification. Yes.
Yes.
Now you find that now an exclusive privilege will not be given to a person who is just coming in and just enrolls in a medical school. It's given to the citizen. The reason being that you're trying to protect very industries or skills that are very important to the development of the country. Health is very important. You can't just risk your health in someone's hands. So you require that the people that you know are going to do that are people highly trained and who can actually take care of the lives of the citizens. And so in the case of Zambia, when we enacted the Employment Code number 3 of 2020, we simply said there are certain skills that cannot be done by foreigners. Certain skills that have been done by Zambians. For instance, you can't employ a medical doctor. If a Zambian is qualified and you get a Congolese medical doctor, it's not allowed now in Zambia. You can't employ a human resource manager when a Zambian is qualified to become a human resource manager. So what we have done is that accept those critical skills that the country cannot afford, but get a foreigner because you don't have a Zambian, then you can employ in those skills. But what we expect right now is that government must move very quickly by coming up with a skills audit to know how many people in this country who are having these qualifications so that we can be able to distinguish when foreigners are applying through immigration office that those people are not supposed to venture into certain skills because those are reserved for the Zambians. I
like what you say, skills audit.
Yes.
Because you're mentioning about 2020 policy or whatever. 2019.
Yes.
But in Kaunda time, that I think was more stronger than even in MMD.
Yes.
Because Dr. Kaunda never used to allow, if you come in as a diplomat, your wife can't work.
Yes.
But now there are people we play golf with, is a diplomat, the wife is having business or working. That is unacceptable. And as you say, we need skills audit.
Yes.
Because most of these jobs are being taken by foreigners.
Yes. For instance, Pastor, we have trained electrical engineers. We have trained mechanical engineers. We have trained electronics engineers. Except if you talk of a skill like mechatronics. Mechatronics is a combination of electronics, mechanical engineering, and IT. So that skill you can bring in the country because it is now dealing with robotics, artificial intelligence, and 3D printing. Something that we are not. We haven't reached that level where we can actually enforce the fourth industrial revolution.
But we have reached, Mr. Chewe, one of the technicians
yes.
who is even in the studio right now
yes.
is mechatronics engineer.
Oh, we thank God for that.
But there are no jobs in Zambia.
Yes.
This young man is on demand in South Africa, is on demand elsewhere, but when we come here, there are no jobs. This is what we are saying. Why not look at issues that are very critical?
You are very right, Pastor. The challenge we have right now is that we need to actually create industries. We can't sit and moan and cry and gnash our teeth about the lack of employment in the country. The issue is that we have a very comprehensive and robust industrialization agenda where we need to actually industrialize this country and so that we create more industries. Because if you look at people who have done mechatronic engineering, this is a high-skilled thing that we have, and we expect these people to actually get employed and have jobs and create products that can actually benefit this economy. Because if you look at right now in the US, the people who have done mechatronic engineering are in high demand. These are fast-moving skills where someone can't even, before he blinks, tomorrow he's got a job. If he leaves one employer, he's employed by another employer. So we need to create industries. Industrialization is the way to go. And the question is, we can't sit and mourn and cry about the challenges we face. We have a very robust policy of which we call leaving no one behind. Industrialization, multi-sectoral approach without leaving anyone behind, meaning that every Zambian must feel and be part and parcel of the growing economy, but by ensuring that we create industries. The challenge we are facing right now is that we are a low productive industry, meaning that we are manufacturing is in its infancy. We need much of investment in the area of manufacturing. We create industries in terms of having the skills to make nuts, to make boats, to make products that can sell in the international market. So the challenge we face right now is, number one, on one hand, we need to actually train more people who can take up these industries and also ensure that they move this economy to where it's supposed to be. So the chance we have at the moment is ensure that Africa has reached at a time when things are ripe. Almost every continent of the world, Pastor, they are all industrialized. We're the only continent that is remaining. Right now, China will be shedding off almost about 85 million jobs because they are moving into high-tech industries. So these, low industrial formation.
And those 85 million, when they shed them off, they will be loafers.
What they have done is that they are moving into the service industry. Because of what has happened, Pastor? The challenge we have right now is that as the country is developing at a faster, is moving into a higher, economic bracket, what happened is that you find that as you're moving in these high-tech industries, the low jobs become expensive. Labor becomes expensive to maintain because people have changed their lifestyle now. They need high paying. They need to be paid highly for just changing a tire, or they need to be paid highly just for sewing a trousers. So those jobs now require to move to countries where the industrialization has not taken root. Like
this is what I was saying. That of the 85 million, I'm sure Zambia has 5 million. When they are retired there, they will come here and take up the jobs again, and they will go to Uganda, they will go to this. Those are the implications.
That's what we need now to close our Pastor. What we need right now is that what we are saying is that China will need to be supplied with garments, they need to be supplied with shoes. So who is going to make those things? It's the Zambian who are going to make. Because China is not interested in actually keeping this level of 85 million people in employment, who they are paying at a higher rate. They would rather pay these people at a lower rate. But they cannot do that because the economy has already advanced. So what you need now is that now countries that in Africa now can move in, create that space by beginning to build and their labor-intensive industries and begin to export those things to China. In 2018, if I recall very well, I was interviewed by a white person, but he's Zambian from Chingola, from Luanshya, on Manit radio. And the question he asked me was, Mr. Chewe, we have got this Mount Economic Facility Zone, we call MFAs. Why can't we? Do you think these things are working? I said, quite to the contrary. I've got a challenge and a concern at the same time. You have actually pegged the price, or you have pegged the capital of $500,000 for me to enter into a Mount Facility Zone. Kalumbila Mount Facility Zone, Lusaka South Mount Facility Zone, Chambishi Mount Facility Zone. Now, 500,000 Zambia cannot afford. Why can't we lower the price to almost about 100,000 and get 7-10 Zambians?
100,000 kwacha or $100,000
probably, but get more Zambians. Maybe share this one 10,000, this one 10,000. At least 10 people move into that economic zone and begin to create products. Because I'm speaking to you right now, Pastor, China is in need of exports of these food items, of these garments. Export to that country because it's becoming expensive for them to manufacture them locally. So they require other countries to be able to push those things in other countries. So we need to open up the Mount Facility Zone. But on a happy note, the Minister of Finance actually listened to our cry. And he has lowered the entry point in this Mount Facility Zone. So as I'm speaking right now, it only takes $100,000 dollars to move into the smart facility zone. And Zambia can cluster together, come together, and begin to produce this. And China also can help in terms of providing the much needed revenue, business revenues.
Shed more light. You know, me, I'm sitting here, I'm hearing it from you.
Yes.
Multi-facility zone. When I look at that, I just think it's for foreigners.
Oh, yes.
How do Zambians get into that market? Do you need to have equipment? Do you need to, what are the qualifications of being, apart from the $100,000?
Okay, one of the things that first of all, you said you need to shed more light. So this is an initiative of the Japanese government. They looked at us in terms of our industrial formation, in terms of manufacturing sector. We were actually at a very low point. So they said, let's come up with a project on how we can assist African countries to be able to come up with industries. And that's how JICA wrote that very important project called, which they call MFAs, Mount Economic Facility Zones. These are industrial yards where you move in, they create a space, they put the infrastructure there, water, electricity, all the necessary things that you require for you to actually kickstart an industry.
Like the one we have at near Mikango there,
Yes.
Lusaka East and
Lusaka
near the
South.
airport.
Yes, Lusaka South Mount Facility. So those are purposefully, they're special purpose vehicle entities to actually come up with the industries that can export in the international market. So you are given a space. Everything is there, electricity is there, roads are there, infrastructure is there, already done for you, so that you don't have the challenges in terms of your transportation of goods and services. The challenge we had with the Mount Facility Zone was that they were expensive for the local people. Only foreigners were able to come in. And when you bring the foreigners who come in, they export those things and they don't bring back the profit in the country. So the challenge we had now, that Zambians were actually left out from those. And our cry was that if we can lower the entry point in terms of you lower the threshold of how much money a person should have to enter the Mount Facility Zone, that will help the local Zambians. And with the passage of the 2021 budget, I think that has been answered. And we expect that more Zambians now can begin to find space in those Mount Facility Zones to ensure that they also begin to kickstart their production and begin to export to the international market.
When you look at $100,000, I am not doubting. But even then, why didn't you canvass for the Zambia support that even if they have $10,000, which we can fight to raise, be given the plot, and then we buy the equipment? Because you and I, if we come together,
Yes.
and Evangelist Joe Mwansa, yourself, myself, we say, let's buy this machine.
Yes.
And we put $10,000 each. We can start exporting. We can start doing what we are doing, So why didn't you lobby for less than 100,000?
Well, I think that's what government could give us, from $500,000 to $100,000. But here's the deal, Pastor. What is required right now to ensure, number one, we create what are called incentives. Government can move in that anyone who is going to move into the Mount Facility Zone should be able to pay zero tax or given preferential treatment in terms of having tax holidays, so that you can reduce the cost of investments. And I know government can do that, ensuring that we actually provide those incentives to the people who are going to invest. On the other hand, I did chat with someone from ZCCM, which is the Chambeshi Mount Facility Zone, one of the employees working there, was saying that in China right now, as we are speaking, there are people who have got money who want to invest. First of all, they want where they can actually buy products and then export to China. For as long as you're going to make something and you're going to export to China, you're able to access funding from those business entities and be able to actually start a project here in Zambia in a Mount Facility Zone. Meaning that on one hand, it can be a double blessing, Pastor. You're able to get the market, and at the same time, you're able to get the funding to actually start in a Mount Facility Zone. The Chinese who are very rich, $100,000 will be nothing. But for as long as I say, the products we're going to make are going to be exported to China. And we're going to make from Zambia, let's say from Chambishi Mount Facility Zone, or from Lusaka South Mount Facility Zone, or from Kalumbila Mount Facility Zone. But ensure that these products, when we make them, they'll be exported to China to actually feed in the market that is in Hungary of these products and services.
And when that is done, by the Zambians, it means Zambia will attract foreign exchange.
That's right, Pastor. And number two, when they export to China, the same products, the same money, they will not externalize the profit. That profit will come back and sit in Bank of Zambia. And that is going to reduce now our interest rates and our exchange rates. Right now, the kwacha is epileptic. It's suffering epilepsy. It keeps on going, devaluating and going up. The reason is that it's not much by production, by export. If we're an export-oriented economy, we expect the kwacha to be very strong. We need to record amazing, huge trade surpluses in terms of dollars, big amounts, millions of dollars, for us to ensure that we stabilize our kwacha. But it requires that the first people should be manufacturers, should be Zambians. Zambia should be given the incentives, given the credit to them that is at a cheaper rate. Lobby companies in China that are trying to procure those goods from outside the country to lend those financial services to the Zambian people so they can kickstart the process here and export to China. Thereby we boost our economy.
May I put you on the spot, Mr. Chewe? As you travel through Kabwe, just maybe 5 kilometers from town center, on your right there near Kalonga Secondary School,
yes,
there is that fabric company which yes, Dr. Kaunda left.
Yes.
Even now, military uniform used to be made there. Yes. Now it's just a white elephant. If I had to buy that, it's just
yes, Pastor,
an example.
Yes,
if
Pastor,
I had to buy that, I start producing like this shirt. Won't you be the first one to say this is made by Pastor Chiluba? China and German are better.
No, Pastor. The world has changed. I'll be very frank with you. Are you aware that big garments companies like Tesco, even Walmart, M&H, these are now buying products that are called made in Africa. They are proudly and asking companies to say you can stamp your product said made in Africa with a stamp.
Really?
This is Tesco. These are multi-billion-dollar industries that have got labels that are known internationally and worldwide.
I know.
M&H, you look at, and Walmart, which is a big chain stores in the world. They are buying things and they're encouraging African countries to make things that are called made in Africa, made in Zambia. You know very well that during the time of Kaunda, we had Rado factory in Luansha. That was manufacturing cereal.
Cereal International.
Yes.
And one of the best suits.
One of the best, you buy suits in London. Recently someone actually bought a Salaura suit. Inside he read cereal, said, this is made in Zambia. This was used to be made in Zambia. Pastor, can I surprise you? That during the time of cereals, when they had Rado factory in Luansha, the German military wing ordered uniforms from that place.
Really? In Zambia?
The Zambian company, Cereals Rado Factory, made military wear for the regular army in Germany. And they won that tender on the international market. The tender was fully on the international market. And the Cereals won that tender and supplied. We used to supply uniform to the Alitalia airline, which is the cabin crew. All the regions in southern Africa, military uniforms are being supplied by Rado Factory in Luansha. It's not something that we are going to, we can
How did it go down?
Well, after privatization, when you privatized, I think the privatization aspect was not properly handled, because most of the things that we sold, even companies that we know can perform very well, we are just sort of, just like you're selling off Salaula. Such a company that has such potential, able to actually capture, international tenders, win international bids and tenders, could just disappear in the thin air like that. Coming to your question, Pastor, you have talked about Chinese, Mulungushi, China textiles, which was owned by Zambians. I'm glad quite recently I heard a story that face masks will be manufactured from that place. But let's go a step further. Pastor, we don't need to import uniforms for school children from South Africa. Jets and all these companies, they're the ones who are selling uniform for our children. Is there rocket science in making a shirt? Is there rocket science in making a trousers? Which my mother could even sew. Does it really, do we have to go that far to start? We can empower Zambians. That Mulungushi textile, the Zambian government can start manufacturing school uniform for children. We can turn that into the place. instead of importing from China school uniforms, that place can be a thriving industry again, by ensuring that government has got the power. They can simply say, uniforms will not be imported from another country. Uniform will be made right in Zambia. They own schools, they own primary schools, they own secondary schools, they own universities, they own everything. They have the right to make that decision to say, simply say, from today, we are going to ensure that all uniforms will be made in Zambia, which will be worn by our children. And that will ensure, number one, we're going to create more jobs. Not only that place, we can also create provincial industries. You recall very well that we used to buy our uniforms from City Clothing in town.
Yeah.
Where is City Clothing today? When I was selected to Munali Secondary School in grade 8, I walked in City Clothing to buy my uniform. But today that place is gone. It's now the foreigners who are exporting these school uniforms for children. I think time has come. If we're talking about industrialization, let's revive the industry that existed then and begin to provide that service, ensure that we create more jobs for the local people. So in answering your question, Pastor, I would simply say we have come to the stage where right now we are not going to reinvent the wheel. We used to do it. We can still go back to our drawing board and resuscitate the industries that were feeding the commerce of this country and this region and globally.
May I ask you this question, Mr. Chairman? Do you believe that a country like Zambia can move from being a third world to a first world in Africa?
Yes, I believe that, Pastor. 100% with all my heart. It's not the faith I'm professing. Yes, I'm a faith person. But it's a belief in our ability that we can do it. We have what it takes. At independence, Zambia had 100 graduates. Today, we're in thousands of graduates. Counted the challenge in terms of how can you restart the economy at that time. Singapore moved from a third world country into a first world in just 25 years.
Singapore
became a nation in 1965. They were thrown out by Malaysia. You are too poor. You are too good for nothing.
They were thrown out.
With you. They were thrown out by Malaysia. Go and die on your own. We don't need you. You are just a small trade post. The place was nothing, Pastor. Full of swamps and full of snakes. It had 5 square hectare land, very small, very tiny island.
35 million.
35,000 kilometers per hour, 35 kilometers square miles of the area. Very small place. Today is a thriving, global factory of the world.
The same Singapore we hear.
The same Singapore here, Pastor. From 1965, when they became a nation, to 1990, they moved from being a third world country to a first world country. At independence, Zambia and Singapore had the same GDP per capita.
Really?
$300 GDP per capita. In 1990, Singapore was boasting of having $30,000 per capita. Today they are on the same strength with the United States of America. They had $52,000 per capita. 1 in every 6 people we meet in Singapore is a millionaire in dollars.
Really?
Now, how did it happen for them? Pastor, let's put this in perspective. Both Singapore and Zambia were colonized by the British. So on the same plane, there's no change. Singapore doesn't have any mineral resource. We inherited an economy of $700 million in our reserves, 700 million pounds in our reserves with copper. We had every conceivable mineral you can think of. God has decked this country with every mineral you can ever think of. They don't have that luxury of having those minerals. Lee Kuan Yew, the first president of Singapore, the day they got independence, he slept, woke up in the morning and says, what have we done? Are we going to survive as a country? But he says, we are able to transform Singapore by sheer brain power, Pastor. Not natural resources, brain power. The great ingenuity of thought of the Singaporean people, rallying behind their president, said, we can do it, we can make it. No matter how tough the situation is, we as a people have the resolve, the energy, the vigor, and the vibrance to drive the economy forward. Today, Singapore.
I want you to repeat that, global, please, because I think you have just touched my nerve.
Yes, Pastor.
The president said we can rise by what?
Sheer brain power.
Brain power.
Nothing.
Not money power.
Resource. No, Pastor. They only created the bureau, which they call Economic Board Bureau. That is a bureau just for planning purposefully. Planning. They said, what advantage do we have? Number one, of course, we are a good for nothing to anybody, but we have proximity to China, we have got proximity to Malaysia, we have proximity to all the Asian countries in the world, so we can be a financial center. Let's attract all the big banks. Let's attract all the big corporations in America. So all the big companies in the US are located in Singapore. General Electric, Mention, eBay, all these countries that you think of, the big companies that are in Pittsburgh, are also located there. ICT companies, Google, they're located in Singapore. By surely attracting the people to come to their shores and creating an enabling environment for them to invest is what has created that country to be a $52,000 per capita income. That is amazing.
From $300.
From $300. So we can make all the comparison with Zambia independence that we are the same with Singapore. We are all colonized. The first thing we should know that all of us, we are the brain damage of the Europeans. But someone had to think, say, well, we can't remain in this critical situation.
Now,
we can still rise out of
Mr. Chewebisilo with me and the cabinet to the viewers, and I'm going to ask this.
Yes.
Are you saying that our thinking level is low? Yes or no?
No, Pastor, that would be very insulting to the intelligence of the Zambian people. I think we are capable of doing that. What is it?
Don't be smart with me. I'm just saying,
yes, Pastor.
You people, you travel. You've got this data, and the government has data. If I know you are dressed wonderfully like this, I become your friend. I will copy. What makes you, you know, it's on a school, if you know, now we should in chikopo. Tetumwikale pasemu deski ne chikopo chinobe. Kufuako kwetamano. Pako atija muleremba ule bunduira. Na yo apashiramo. You know? Why can't Zambia and the people who lead us, they have people like yourself, and you are bringing that data. If you say no, that would be an insult to our intellect. What has stopped us then from being like Singapore? What would you say? Don't be diplomatic. You know, certain times, ukuposhe chipute, kutula. Ngata mutulile chipute. Munechi no na tustefe massage na fiance. You are not being helpful.
Lee Kuan, before he died, he passed on to be with the Lord in 2015. Lee Kuan, the first president of Singapore. He ruled Singapore from 1965. Of course, he was also part of the transitional government in 1959 before they became a nation in 1965. But let me just say, when they became a nation in 1965, he ruled from 1965 to 1990 and hung in the towel to say, I can't transform a country from a third world into a first world in 25 years and remain president. I've done my job. Let others take over from me.
Really?
Now, if you look at that picture, Pastor, you're looking at the man who worked tirelessly his life. He was a lawyer by profession. Worked tirelessly with his team. Number one, when Lee Kuan was being sworn in as president with all his ministers, he said, we are going to wear white from our feet up to our hair. We are going to wear white, signifying that there will be no corruption in the country. Whiteness represents purity. And in 25 years of Lee Kuan, he fired only 3 cabinet ministers who were corrupt, and they were his personal friends. He had to sacrifice them. No matter how painful it was, he simply said, but we made a vow. The white we wore that will not be corrupt is one thing that will drive the agenda of development. And I'll stick to this. And the 3 of his friends were sacrificed. One of them even committed suicide. What lesson am I trying to learn? These endemic challenges we face in Africa is an aspect of corruption that we need to root out in the environment. The challenge we face with our friends is that their leadership is so much sold out to service, not to personal aggrandizement and self-enrichment. These are issues that we need to grapple with. And I'm not blaming anybody or any particular politician. I'm simply saying that we need to ensure that we actually create opportunities for the citizens of our countries here in Africa and across the developing world to ensure that we create sustainable systems that will create wealth Coming back to the same story of Lee Kuan, having transformed the country for 25 years, in 25 years, it simply meant that they had to be religious. They followed their developmental plan religiously and judiciously. And I'll repeat that. They followed that plan religiously and judiciously. They never departed. We have a system here in Africa. If Pastor Chiluba is president of Zambia, tomorrow when he leaves office, whatever he does is useless.
Somebody must.
Everything. That counter deed is useless. We don't want it. Someone who comes in, begin to find, grappling in the dark to find where these people ended. We must create transitional systems. We must create institutional memory where people can pick from. No matter how you hate a person, you may hate me, you may hate my politics, but love my service. If I left systems that can create development in the country, may I be remembered for that, and let be continuity for the sake of the people. If you kill all the companies that existed during Kaunda, what are you trying to show? There's something good that Kaunda did and left, and those should have been maintained. So that's why we have a challenge. We need to have a consistent path on development whereby we don't change our priorities along the way or shoot our friends in the foot as we're developing the country. Let's move in tandem with development. Whatever our friends did, and let's look at what good did they do so that we can move the economy forward. That is what I can say.
You still haven't answered. Our thinking capacity. I know you have said that they were not corrupt. They rallied behind and they followed this judicially. I'm talking about our level of thinking in Africa. Are we inferior to Singapore, to America? Yes or no?
We're not inferior, Pastor. I'll tell you something. President Paul Kagame has actually benchmarked his development agenda in tandem with Singapore development. His model of development, the model that he's using right now, he's using the Singaporean model of development. And in the years that he has been president, more than 2 million people have been lifted out of poverty. People that were living in abject poverty, more than 2 million people are out of poverty today. The reason being that it is doable. That's why I said I cannot insult the intelligence of the people of Africa, or the Zambian people. We have what it takes to develop our continent. But what we require is to believe in ourselves. Ensure that we believe in the system that we create, that these can deliver on development.
Why I have asked and insisted on the thought pattern, because, Mr. Chewe, I was raised in an environment where when you look this side, that side, you see death and hopelessness in John Howard. And when it starts raining, you start anticipating how many will die because the houses will collapse, that kind of thing.
Yes.
But through that, I have always believed that I was born for greatness.
That's right.
And that greatness is what stopped me from settling in America when I had an opportunity to be a pastor there.
Yes.
Stopped me from being a pastor in West Indies when the head of state, the Honorable V.C. Bird, the first Prime Minister of Antigua, said, Pastor Chiluba, I want you to live here. I met him, and he gave us land. But I've always believed that America, Singapore, Britain, whatever country you can think of, they are not better than us.
Yes.
And we have the same brain power.
Yes.
We have same everything.
Yes.
I've always believed that we're born for greatness. Where do we miss it?
You're very right, Pastor. I went to school. In the same school, I had Asians in my class. I'm not trying to brag about this, but in the same class with my Asians, I think I got better grades than my fellow Asians. But back home where they come from, their economies are doing far better than us. The same school system we have in Zambia, the same system they have in those countries. So the question is, we're not inferior. There's a scripture in the Bible, Pastor, in Job chapter 13, verse 2. It says, what you know, I also know. Therefore, I'm not inferior to you. Job 13, verse 2. What you know, I also know. They are not inferior to you. Though people like only quoting the Job 13:13, chondifika chindifika. That's the scripture people love. But they forget that in that same There's Job 13 verse 2, that what you know, I also know. Therefore, I'm not inferior to you. What the Europeans know, what the Americans know, we also know. We have gone to their same schools, sat with them in a class, and beat them in their own backyard, and gotten certificates and come back to Zambia. We have that mind that we can develop this economy. What requires is to organize our leadership around this system. We create an intellectual infrastructure in which every person can thrive, can be able to give his best to the economy and move forward. It's doable. Pastor, when the Americans were putting the man on the moon in 1969, a vision which was conceived in 1959 by the then President Eisenhower, when he was leaving office, he left that project to John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy was addressing the Americans that we shall put the man on the moon in the next 10 years, they didn't even have the technology to put the man on the moon. They didn't even have the research center established to put the man on the moon. But within 9 years, the man walked on the moon. I was looking at the factors. What are the factors that led to putting the man on the moon? They listed all the factors. Great ingenuity of thought, great research skills, great scientific discoveries. But one important skill, they said, which was on top of all these, was management and leadership. They said without management and leadership, a man would not have walked on the moon. Neil Armstrong would not have reached the moon if there was no proper leadership and there was no proper management. So leadership must set the pace. Leadership is actually the guiding principle to how we need to go in this life. In other words, leadership is the North Star that guides our effort to how we can reach. So once we put these things in place, we require ourselves to move in the right direction, challenge our assumption, challenge our thinking that we can do better. We can reach those levels.
A story is told by those of you who travel a lot, who go a lot into different countries. I was so blessed by some of our sons who went to Dubai, and they are business people. When they were in Dubai, they did a lot of exploits. They saw how Dubai was coming up and all this. And for your information, Zambia was better than Dubai in 1974. Are you aware of that?
Yes, Pastor.
1974, Zambia was better. But the king who died, not this one.
Yes.
I am told he called, I'm agreeing with you about leadership.
Yes.
He called the top architects, planners, he called all these brains, put them up in the hotel and paid them heavily and said, in 50 years from now, how would you like to see Dubai look like? Draw up the buildings and everything. And these guys did the masterpiece. He said, I want you to draw up something better than America. And they came up with a city. They played their important role of the brain power you were talking about.
Yes.
The moment they finished, he said, since I will not be there in 50 years from now, start building the same city.
That's right.
And today, Dubai, that's why you see that they even build at night. Because their king said, we must build this. So I believe that it's doable, even for Zambia.
Yes, Pastor.
We've got what it takes.
They made use of the petrodollars. How many countries in Africa have got oil? Nigeria is flowing with oil. Gabon is flowing with oil. So many countries in Africa have got oil. But with their oil in their countries, have they reached the level that Dubai has reached? You mentioned a very important point, Pastor. You said the leader, the king said, draw what you want to see in the next 50 years. Start building today. Where was the revenue coming from? The petrodollars that we're actually selling. Let that money, every dollar that you get from petrol, let it go towards building this city. It should be the same thing. Every petrodollar you get from Delta State, let it build Nigeria. Nigeria could be on the same level with Dubai. So the question is the difference. It's leadership that we need to sort out in Africa. Once we get it right, then we can reach that level where those countries have reached. It's doable. You are a man of scripture, Pastor. The Bible says in Proverbs 23, verse 7, as a man think in his heart, so is he. So our thinking capacity reflects our thoughts. We can't rise above our thinking. And also controlling our own behavior, lining our behavior to our thinking pattern, we can reach our ultimate goal. Or it requires that to summon our best selves in us to move forward and create the sustainable development that we require for the future of our children. I can't imagine living in a country where my children will have to start grappling to look for a job. Your grandchildren looking for a job. That's not the country that we want to live. At the end of the day, we live a country and a continent that is thriving, moving forward. Because what our friends have done, they have the same brain power that we have. Each one has got more than 3.6 billion cells in his brain. And almost 800 ideas cross the mind on a daily basis, what we can do.
800.
800 ideas rush through our minds on a daily basis.
Including Abakuchpata.
Including Awakumawa. But the question is, how much are we able to invest our time to show that we tap into that brain power to create what we want to see? Like what Lee Kuan Yew said, the first president of Singapore, that a country is doable for as long as we make use of our brain power. We can achieve what we can achieve. No mineral resource, nothing, simply the brain power. You have seen the man who is hustling on Katondo. He doesn't even own a shop. He doesn't even have a car. Someone gets a car from South Africa. He says, bring that car, I'm going to sell it for you. How much do you want? He said, out of this car, I just want $10,000. He goes to the market and sells the car at $30,000. And he gets his $20,000 and gives a 10 to the owner of the vehicle. What does he use? Sheer brain power that he has used to create that wealth. Is just a link in the chain of wealth creation. That's what Singapore did. They were just a link in the chain of wealth creation. Pastor, if you look at Japan, Japan is 80% mountainous. 80% mountainous. There's no agriculture taking place there. Yes, it's a shop floor of the world. The rice they eat, they don't grow it there. The rice they eat, they exchange it with the cars they sell to bring the rice and eat. But they live in a place where they cannot grow anything. Did they say and die? Let's just die and we do nothing. There's a book I read sometime, you say that having resources is a case. When you have got abundance of resources, in itself is a case. But when you have nothing, it tasks you to think on how best you can get out of that quagmire and create the life that you want to achieve.
You know, in our language, Bemba, there is a saying at Ubuchush Bupamano.
That's right.
When you go through suffering, you go through certain situations, your mind just opens up. And I think in Zambia, this is what I say, Mr. Chewe. Blaming the government for everything is a sheer waste of time.
That's right, Pastor.
That is just me. I'm not calling for political debates or argument. I am saying blaming the government is a sheer waste of time. I'll tell you something. My mother, my father, labored to take us to school. I never heard them say, "Indarama tuamishtirama uniform, nivakaunda vachitupera." They went to sell rape. They sold carpenter to put a uniform on me, for me to know the little English that I know. It wasn't the government. The government provides an environment where anybody can access anything.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, it's individual passion to set the pace and the goals to be what he wants to become. And so when I say that blaming the government for everything, it's a sheer waste of time. That is just me. That's what I think. I don't know what you technocrats think about that.
No, I concur with you 100%, Pastor. I'm on the same page with you regarding the issues of. I share the same sentiments like yours. I also I didn't wait for anybody to send me to school. Up to the level of grade 12, I paid for my own school fees in the university. I paid for my own studies for my master's degree. I paid for my own studies for my postgraduate diploma. So all qualifications that I have, with the exception up to grade 12, I was assisted. But from there, I paid all my school fees. And I was a full-time student in all my school career. I'm leaving my dormitory, leaving the lecture room, going in a room. I'm teaching someone who is lesser qualified. I'm doing a degree, I'm teaching a diploma. but I'm getting money and paying for my school fees. So that has been my
That's
life.
a good one.
I've never gotten a scholarship from government. I've never been on a government bursary for my education. It's something that I've been able to fund myself using my own creative business, skills to create my own school, tuition and pay for the school. So what you are saying is very right, Pastor. We can't blame government for everything. Can we blame government for the rains having not rained on this country? No, we can't.
Or for COVID.
Yeah, or for COVID. It's something that just came. No one was prepared for it. It just hit us, and we're found in this situation. So the question is, this is the reason why when President Kennedy was addressing the nation in his inauguration speech, he said, ask what you can do for your country, not what the government can do for you. Meaning that you yourself as the citizens, you have the responsibility and the right to actually set your own destiny and move in the direction where you're going to actually acquire the wealth that will also be shared with the rest of the people in your community. So it requires for us, government cannot come and grow a field maize for me. I need to grow a field maize for myself. And that brings me to the very important questions. If you look at even the bumper harvest we're talking about in Zambia right now, that bumper harvest is a creation of mostly the peasant farmers. It's not the commercial farmers that consume that bumper harvest.
Really?
It's individuals who are on this FISIP, federal support program, who are growing that.
They're the ones who are feeding there.
Now imagine, Pastor, that the challenge they have right now is they are growing on a very limited scale because of failure to have what you call agronomical practices. In terms of ensuring that, number one, they have their land well cultivated. Number two, they understand the soil composition, what type of crops are supposed to grow in that soil. If it is acidic, they need to apply lime to ensure that that acid is killed. They need to ensure that they are applying pesticides and all what is required, the chemicals that are needed for the country. So if you look at that, Pastor, you're seeing a situation where we need to assist those farmers. The initiative is to ensure that they grow this food and we're able to have the surplus and export, but not much, because much of it, what we are growing, is for own personal consumptions. I said agriculture is a long-hanging fruit industry because everyone, even during the time of COVID, wants to eat.
You know, Mr. Chewe, diverting to agriculture, I've told this story and I'll keep telling it. My friends come, Dr. Francis Miles, he comes to speak in our church, and he came with some Zimbabweans, and they come with this plan. And as we sat one day, they said, Pastor, we want to make you a millionaire.
Yes.
Story short, I heard the crops that they were talking about.
Yes.
And one of them says, you know, Pastor Chilwa, a white man is smart. He knows that when you keep on growing maize, you'll be feeding yourself. That maize, you can't export it. It's of no value internationally.
Yes.
When you grow things like tobacco or sweet potatoes, they'll end up at this national level.
Yes.
But there are certain crops, when you grow, they are in demand out there. You'll be exporting them and getting forex. And they told me, when I heard the money involved in the castor bean, you know, imono.
Castor bean, yes.
Castor bean.
Yes.
When I heard the money that was involved, and they said, Pastor, get 100 hectares of land, within 2 years, we want you to be putting millions of dollars. And they convinced me. I had all the papers and everything given to me. We went through. I didn't need an economist. But here's the deal. I looked at that with my wife, and we said, you know, our country is poor. Instead of us, ukuyimafye babiri, no mukashwandi, you know, no Africa bachewe, nga mwambo kuchitabu ino, echo no buloshi bufulira. Mulenda mwamafye ekintu kyamboku. So the best way, nendo shikushendera pamu.
That's right.
Mwayima okwebati munesende baleri, tayakamilowe. But lyonse nga mulepita mu moto ga mwamusabukisha menshi. Mukalati mwanyanta accelerator mwamfa kwati kuli ule mifu ina muluka saka kashi muntu
Yes.
But story short, Vachewe, my wife and I began this drive, and we are on it. You know, I've just come to believe, and the more I research with these international doctors like Reda, he brought him here, and all these qualified people. This is where you appreciate education. All these educated guys, they've said, Pastor, this program you've begun, Zambia can net not less than $50 billion on this hectareage of land. And they give me this. For this, you get this. For this, you get this. Now, $50 billion, Mr. Chair. If we started 10, 15 years ago, where would Zambia be at this time?
It will be a multi-billion a nation. Pastor, you are very right when it comes to these issues. We are growing cashew nuts. We started a cashew nut project probably about 2 years or 3 years ago in Western Province. Cashew nut is a very, very fast-moving and high-yielding
and very expensive.
Very expensive and high-yielding crop. Are you aware, Pastor, that if you talk of Ivory Coast, the economy, with the exception of COVID-19, the economy was growing at 10 to 11% per annum.
Really?
10 to 11% per annum, because they are massive exporters of cashew nut across the globe.
And Dr. Kaunda saw that he put the cashew nuts plantation in the Western Province.
Yes. So we should have picked up from there. But quite recently, of course, the PF government came up with the policy and funded it to the tune of $55 million to ensure that they kickstart the process and employing 600,000 in terms of women and the youth, to ensure that they participate in their projects. These are some of the areas that we need to actually concentrate. These are areas where we have got low-hanging fruits to develop our GDP, to push our GDP going forward. Even growing of coffee, Pastor. Coffee is also one of the major forex earner of a country. It's a 100.
Ghana survives on that.
Yes, it's a $100 billion industry. Of course, Africa is only sharing a $2 billion, 98 billion remains in the other part of the world who are doing the actual processing. It creates, when you talk of these, they create what are called value chains. Along the way, you create a lot of jobs. There are forward and backward linkages. You have got the supply up to the way you're selling to the market. You're creating the industry. So what we need, Pastor, is to link our agro-processing industry to agriculture. We begin to process these things and begin to export them. We start doing value addition to these things that we're growing in the country, thereby boosting our revenue, increasing our GDP, because the money that we're going to get is going to come in foreign-denominated currency, which is the US dollar. And that will boost our economy and our currency. Right now, our Zambian economy is standing at $27 billion. It's a very small economy. Even Mike Bloomberg goes running for president, is worth $54 billion. He's twice as rich as Zambia in terms of bank balance value. So what we beat him is the resources that we have in the country. So if we can ensure that we develop agriculture, and I'm insisting on agriculture, we go what you call agro-industrialization. Our industrialization agenda is being spearheaded by agriculture. Then we can reach the optimum level where this country can cry no more about jobs, can cry no more about debt. Right now we're struggling to pay just $11.7 billion. It's generated a lot of debate in the country. Imagine if we have a $50 billion industry in agriculture. That $11 billion is nothing in terms of paying. But our focus should be ensuring that we put our resources where it matters most. But we need to talk also about mining. I know the president of FESMAS will not actually let me not talk about that subject in your questioning.
You know, I'm looking at this, Mr. Chewe. The government, I went to this development agency. I went to see the CEO there, development agency at the government, ZDA.
Yes.
When we brought this this farming concept and everything, and what he told me, of course the government has about $1 million, 1 million hectares of farming block. Yes. The government has that,
yes,
which we are not utilizing as we should.
Yes.
Now through Camnet TV, there are about 1,850 farmers that have registered with Camnet TV, giving us the total land of 460,000 hectares. That we have just computed based on 1 hectare to 20,000 hectares. When you put together, we have 460 25,000 hectares. But just a rough calculation of this that I've given you, if we have a deliberate policy, you policymakers,
Yes.
and say, let's go agriculture, the president is backing it, we just become serious to say November 30th, the whole country, we are putting this agriculture thing. On 1.2 million hectares, we have, if it's in castor,
Yes.
because 1 hectare gives you $25,000 every 6 months
Yes.
once you grow it properly. Now, 1.2 hectares, I mean 1.200 hectares times 25,000, that gives you $30 billion.
Yes.
And there are countries that are waiting to buy this crop.
Yes.
But if we add the value to it, 25,000 hectares, I mean $25,000 per hectare,
Yes.
is what you are selling your seed for.
Yes.
But should you start now producing oil
Yes.
and cosmetics,
Yes.
the value goes up.
Yes.
That from 1 hectare, you get about $55,000
Yes.
from 1 hectare. That will give us about 30 billion US dollars per year. Why are we crying on the 27 million? It even becomes a political issue. And we start raising our children to start protesting Mumpanga, Nensoka Shaba Suma. Why can't we just change our thinking?
Yeah, that's what we call disruptive thinking, Pastor. We need to disrupt our way of thinking. Embrace progressive, critique ourselves. What is it that has gone wrong? What can we make right? We begin to critique ourselves, have that critical thinking and critical debate. We begin to move, summon our energy and our reserves in areas that we know are going to be productive sectors, like what you have just mentioned. Because if you're going to, if the 1.2 million hectares that you have estimated, and with the kind of farmers put on that farming plot to actually grow this castor oil, and you create value chains, because number one, you're going to create drivers.
Yes.
Drivers will get jobs, janitors will get jobs, engineers will get jobs, because you're going to link your agriculture farmland to agro processing, where the actual oil will be made. So there will be packaging companies that are going to be created there. You're going to create jobs for engineers who will be servicing the machines, who will be installing the machines.
And
IT
for extension
systems.
officers.
Yes, extension officers. So you look at the system. You look at, there is a value created at every stage. And when you have this value chain created, you create more people get employed. So everyone who is crying, who is carrying a placard in the bush and everything, if he's an engineer, has got a chance. If he has done catering, he has got a chance to create a canteen near the place where they're processing a plant to feed the people who are actually working those plants. So this is a multi-billion-dollar project we are talking about. And we can't just sit here and begin to talk about it without seeing a needle moving. We need to create movements. This requires for us to have kinetic energy, not potential energy. Because sometimes we become a talking shop and not an acting shop. We need to ensure that we solicit government with the help of the external funders, like the African Development Bank. The President, Dr. Adesina, said, I'm ready to fund any project in Africa of agriculture that ensure that is going to bring about value addition and create
The President of what?
The President of African Development Bank.
Really?
Dr. Adesina, the former agriculture minister of Nigeria. He's ready. Bring the projects that you know are going to raise agriculture. You know he's an agriculturalist by heart. And he sings this song. Let's create projects.
You must give me his phone number after we finish this.
Definitely, I'll give you the contacts. So they are ready to the tune of $3 billion to go into agriculture. We resuscitate and revitalize the agriculture sector. They're ready to move in and push in that money. Because that's the passion we have. The pride of Africa is number one, to feed itself, to clothe itself, and at the same time, to educate itself and to live comfortably.
Because even when you go agriculture, even in COVID times, people need to eat.
Definitely, Pastor.
They can't say, our mouths have got a mask, I can't eat.
No, you can't say that. Pastor, are you aware that Africa every year imports close to about $35 billion? Our import bill of processed food as a continent is $35 billion. I don't know how much Zambia...
$35 billion.
$35 billion. And with the advent of COVID, it is estimated that the import bill is going to move to $110 billion.
From Africa?
From Africa.
To those countries?
This is how much we're importing food from Asia, from China, from America, from Venezuela, everywhere in the world. The food that we sell in our chain stores, processed food, is imported. But Pastor, between you and me, there's no rocket science in producing food. What we require is political will, the support of the citizens to the government they have in place, and ensure that we are able to kickstart the process of producing this food locally within our country. Because if, for instance, lockdown prolongs for 2 to 3 years, we're all going to die if we're depending on imports from other countries. This is the time now to build our domestic economy. Look at ourselves within what capacity do we have? We can produce these things locally, Pastor. By creating industries that are able to produce. There's no rocket science in producing cocoa. There's no rocket science in producing chocolate. But where chocolate is coming from, a child in Kumasi, Ghana has never eaten a chocolate, but yet is there picking cocoa and exporting to the outside world. We have to stop this, and reverse course. And we have to build our own capacity to do these things.
My wife and I, together with our cabinet team here, we are doing the little that we can. But how can we change the people's minds? Because sometimes, because of bureaucracy, Mr. Chewe, the government moves in a certain way and they are so slow. Sometimes the government reacts like those old engines,
Locomotives.
No, they were locomotives.
Yes.
Yeah,
using coal, yes.
Sometimes if your government yaba,
you're losing coal. That's right.
But there are these bullet trains,
yes,
where you just electrical trains, speed trains. How can we marshal and mobilize while the government is thinking about what to do or whatever? How can we change the people's thinking to say, you people, stop fighting, stop quarreling, stop blaming the government, let's put on our gumboots and work on the land? How can we change that?
Pastor, the belief that I have, number one, ensure that those who are entrusted with the responsibility of running the country, they are not the only ones who can run this country. We need to assist them by having everyone playing a part and a role, both the opposition, the ruling government, the non-government organizations, international cooperating partners. All of us have a chance to ensure that we create these synergies, create systems. If we see that the system is very slow, why is it slow? Let's unbundle. Let's bring in a system which has got inbuilt flexibility to move at a faster rate. Yes, if you talk of Zambia and Africa in particular, in terms of our international indexing, where we stand in terms of doing business, we need to improve. Of course, there's been some movement in terms of easing the process of doing business, easing the process. There has been some movement, but we can do much better to kill these the bottlenecks that are hanging the process, ensure that we move very fast. Every time someone wants to actually get a document or from any government organization or institutions, it's always timed out. We must move away from these systems, create inbuilt flexibility. Sometimes we ourselves, we blame the government. But Chewe, as an individual, your responsibility to ensure that you are there to ensure that you produce a documentation within 24 hours. You hang the jacket on your seat and leave the office. People are coming, think Chewe is sitting in an office and Chewe is not there. And who gets the blame? The government gets the blame, at the expense of a citizen who is supposed to actually do that job. So my appeal to my fellow citizen is that, can we ensure that we create let's have it at the back of our mind, that the wheels of commerce will not be driven by someone. It is us, the citizens, to actually participate fully, ensuring that we are part of a productive sector, giving our best to our economy so that we can move this economy forward. So it is a concerted effort on each and every citizen. Every Zambian must feel duty-bound to provide this service to the running of this country. Sometimes we blame the government. Sometimes it is our own individual laziness that stole the system. And there's a saying by the British that when the times are good, we cheer the Queen. When the times are bad, fire the Prime Minister. The question is, It is when things are moving very good, a politician will be praised. But when things are moving very bad, you say, fire that person out of office. But the question we're forgetting is that, are we helping those people to be the best of what they can be and deliver on services? So it requires all of us as citizens to put our pet differences, roll our sleeves, marshal our energy into the sectors that are driving the economy and move this economy forward.
We are going to open up the lines, but I can tell you, my wife and I and our cabinet team, we are more than serious. By the grace of God, Mr. Chewe, Thursday, we've confirmed every system, and the drivers have been tested of COVID. On Thursday, the seed for castor will be entering Zambia. And I will be so delighted,
praise the Lord,
to see some Zambians to get involved. And it's not much. It's only 3,000 hectares worth of seed with fertilizer and inputs that goes with it. When one person buys 1 hectare worth of seed, and I'm emphasizing, you buy it, Mr. Chewad, $805 together with the fertilizer. That goes with it. $805. Coming to harvest, you are picking just from the seed.
Yes.
Not those value chain you were talking about.
Yes.
From the seeds, you are picking $25,000. And I was chatting with somebody today, and they said, Pastor, all that expense, I don't know what is wrong sometimes with our minds. You are looking at $800, spend $800 for your 1 hectare. 6 months you have $25,000. You are not looking at the profit. You are looking at what you are investing. And I think this has been costing Zambia too much.
Yes.
And if you see, truthfully speaking, sorry to divert, if I was the president or minister of sports, I would not fund the FAS. For a reason being, I would want to see the investment. What is the genuine investment? Because I've said it here, Mr. Chewe. If FAS said, sir, we want to develop Zambia, you take boys and girls into soccer academies in Brazil, Europe, where, say, take 100. You're talking about 100. Under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18. You take 100 or 500. That cost of taking those boys there. Okay, Zambia pays $5 million. What is that? It's negligible. $5 million. Even if it's $10 million, budget for that. You are sending 500 boys out there and girls. Tomorrow, when those boys learn the scientific part of soccer, they will be the Drogba of Zambia. They will be the Mane and Eto'o of Zambia. The money they will be bringing into this nation, Mr. Chewe, is more than tourism.
Yes.
That's how my mind thinks.
Yes.
So we may suffer investment.
Yes.
$5-10 million, we think it's a lot of money. But let's look in 5 years from now. And Zambia will become a powerhouse again.
Yes.
It's just an example on soccer.
That's right.
But in every area of our lives, if we are not willing to spend and invest, nothing good will come out.
What you're saying, Pastor, is very right. There's what you call a cost and a benefit analysis. To everything, you must calculate your cost. And what benefit are you going to get out of that? Jesus Christ, the greatest teacher that ever lived on the face of earth, he said, before a man builds his house, he must first sit down and
count the cost.
Number one, when that house is built, you're going to save life. You're going to buy a coffin of 16,000 kwacha. And in actual fact, you have withheld the bricks that you're going to buy at 1,000 to build that house. 1,000 kwacha would have bought you the bricks, but you're going to buy a coffin at 16,000 if that person dies in the rains because he didn't have a roof on his head. So the question is, let's do a cost and a benefit analysis. You have said you're going to invest almost about $800 in 1 hectare of growing. castor, yes. And you're going to, the yield is $25,000. Minus that, you're having something about, that is 23,150 as my profit. If we subtract all these other expenses, maybe I have $17,000 as my net that I'm going to get from that farm. Look at that. If you do a cost and a benefit analysis, the benefits far outweigh the cost. That simply means it's a wise investment that I've put in. Now, you can't listen to the armchair critics who simply says, if you're going to put in 50, that money I would have put in. You look at, he's now trying to hallucinate, and in the end, it doesn't get anywhere in life. He's stuck, can't move, because the priorities are misplaced. So our investment, even in the agricultural sector, we require to put in massive investment in the agricultural sector. I've said agro-industrialization. There's one laureate economist who won the Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, his name is Ghana Mido, and he made a profound statement that I've come to love, and I quote: "It is in agriculture that the long-term battle for economic development in a developing country will either be won or lost."
Repeat that.
It is in agriculture that the long-term battle for economic development in developing countries will either be won or lost. End of quote. Now, he's given the Nobel Peace Prize based on the fact that he has calculated, he has done a cost and a benefit analysis. He has looked at what agriculture can offer to developing countries like Zambia. We need to exchange our agricultural produce with the machinery coming in the country. Let me tell you something, Pastor. All the developing countries that you see, America, Britain, US, all the Asian countries, they started with agriculture. Agriculture was the starting point. Through the agricultural surplus, they invested in the manufacturing sector. Can I shock you, Pastor? The Samsung we celebrate today, the Samsung TV, some plasma TV, all these televisions. Samsung in 1938 was an agricultural store exporting vegetables to China.
Really?
Today, Samsung is building ships. Today, Samsung is building electronic products. This agricultural surplus was invested in the manufacturing sector, where we're talking about right now. So, to be honest, Pastor, what we are speaking right now, we are talking about agriculture is not a lost opportunity. Agriculture is a neglected opportunity. If we're able to transform our agricultural sector into a business, we create agribusiness, we create linkages, we are going to have an amazing economy that will drive the agenda of development going forward. I'm not trying to shortchange the priorities of mining is important. We need all systems shooting at once. But the question remains, let's get it right where our friend got it right.
You know, our Egyptian scientist, Dr. Reda, sat where you are sitting 3 weeks ago. I asked him, he's an Egyptian.
Yes.
I asked him whether my wife and I are correct by inviting people to go back to the land. Don't sell land. Let's plant something. You know what he said? He said, Pastor, you see how developed Egypt is? It came from agriculture. 95% of their GDP comes from agriculture. And they only have River Nile. Just River Nile. Look at what Egypt is. How much water do we have in this nation, Mr. Chair?
We have massive water. Number one, first of all, we can't even talk about the rainfall. Let's talk about the water that is just in the ground, which is in the stones, in the aquifers. 1,740,000 cubic meters of water, surface water. Yet our irrigation system is only less than 10%. We can grow food from January to December without any disruption, not waiting for the rains. Because what we are considering right now is rain-fed agriculture and not irrigation agriculture. So you look at, we have massive water. I think President Lungu one time visited Israel. He was visiting their plants, and they told him how they harvest water harvesting, because it doesn't rain as it rains here. Here it rains dogs and cats. But there, the little rain they have, they conserve it, they harvest that water for them to grow the fruits. to grow the citrus fruits. Israel's got the best citrus fruits in the world.
Absolutely.
The best agricultural system in the world. Yet they are living in a desert. We're not living in a desert. We are living in a land of abundance of water supplies. We boast of having 35% of water bodies in southern Africa, here in Zambia. Agriculture should be our mainstay. That should be our focus, our focal point, our rallying point in terms of taking this economy forward. So we have an excellent opportunity, Pastor, to ensure that we take this economy to where it's supposed to be, but ensure that we get it right in agriculture. All the developing countries, I must emphasize, they began with agriculture. They were agrarian societies, slowly migrated into manufacturing sector, but ensure that the agriculture became scientific and the surplus from agriculture fed their manufacturing, light industries into heavy industries where they are today. So let's get it right. Let's get to where, let's get back to where.
We get agriculture right.
Right. If we get it right, the whole systems will be right.
Before we take the course, please open the lines, Mr. Director. Thank you so much. This is National Matters, and with Mr. Chewe here, who is the President of Policy Institute of Zambia. Am I right?
Yes, Public Policy Institute of
Public Policy Institute of Zambia. And Camnet TV viewers, listen once again, you are watching this program because God wants you to hear what we are talking about. Pick up that whole. Let's go back to the land and let's till the land. Today somebody may be laughing at you. Tomorrow they will be laughing with you. Child of the Most High God, and those of you that are out there, let's go agriculture. God told Adam, take care of the land. That was the assignment he was given. Have dominion, but take care of the land. And if we take care of this land, Mr. Chewe, will take care of us.
That's very true.
I was speaking to a Jewish person today.
Yes.
He is in Dar es Salaam right now as we speak. And we were talking about this. Then I shared with him the passion for agriculture. He said, Pastor Chilwa, let me look at some of the best agriculture scientists and people who have succeeded in this in Israel. Then he says, are you aware the best oranges in the world are coming from Egypt, from Israel?
Yes, best citrus fruits from Israel.
I didn't know. He says, Pastor, we are exporting the whole world.
Yes.
And he says some of the best fruits in the world
He was right.
are coming from there.
Grown in a desert, Pastor.
And he says tomatoes. There are tomatoes that you can feed. And he was even saying, you know, Zambia, you are surrounded by neighbors. You don't have to complain on Forex.
No, we don't have. Pastor, we are the trade center of COMESA. The common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA. We are the headquarters. It's a 400 million market. With the coming in of, and also we're part of SADC, and with the coming in of African Continental Free Trade Area, we'll be exposed to a 1.2 billion market. But first of all, we are a host to a regional market. And we are supposed to be 100% beneficiaries of this market. I'm not even talking about manufacturing. We have dealt much about agriculture. But let's look at, we are landlocked, but on one point, we are land-linked. Because we still have access to all these countries that surround us. Meaning that we are a trade center. We don't even have the advantage that Singapore had of being a trade post. We are a trade center. Meaning that everything can spring from this place to go into these other neighboring countries. We have the proximity to all these places. Sometimes I fail to understand when Volkswagen leapfrogged Zambia and went and established a plant and started making cars in Rwanda. In Rwanda, yeah. Are you aware that, Pastor, that even Mahindra is establishing they'll be establishing manufacturing plant in Rwanda. Toyota is coming, and all these Nissan they are going to Kenya, they're going to Nigeria, South Africa, but the headquarters of COMESA, these people are not coming here. There's something we need to do to attract the investment. Oh, Jehovah! Create these companies that come into this Africa and start creating products and services for this market. We are one of the most blessed countries in Africa. Just having Kaunda fought for us having that COMESA here is enough to suggest that we can be a hub, a commercial center for everything that we require to drive the economy forward.
Mr. Chewe,
Yes, Pastor.
let's pick up the call. I know there are some people calling out there. You've given us the Zoom password. Please give us the numbers that people should call. Will you give us one number? The one scrolling down, I don't know whether this is the number that people should call. That's right. The number to call is the one which is actually on this, the first one here, which is 0968 675 273. The 273 right here. This number, when you call it, it will bring you in the studio. Otherwise, the one on the middle, it won't bring you in the studio. It will bring you the message. If you call this number, you send the message, then we'll pick it up. And the far out there, you send your WhatsApp message. I want to ask a question. The youths of our days, the explosion of this population of youths, is it a blessing or a curse? And today's youths, sorry to say this, most of them are lazy. They would rather spend the time buying chocolate, ice cream, and pizza than looking for a piece of land. What would you say about the youths of today?
The youth explosion, or the population explosion, one thing that we should let's put it into context and perspective. Number one, Africa has the youngest population and will continue to do so for the next 30 to 40 years. Right now, the population of Africa is about 1.2 billion people. In the next 20 years, this population will hit 2.4 billion people. Who have the youngest population in the world by 2045, 2050. And the youth population will be the majority. Zambia right now has one of the youngest population and will continue to do so. Our population right now is standing at 17.4 million people. By 2050, we would have doubled our population to almost 33.4 million people by 2045. And that number, the biggest constitution of that number is the young people. Here's the challenge that we face. It can either be looked at as a curse or as a blessing, depending on what we do today. So we need critical and massive investments. Number one, in ensuring that these young people have the jobs that are required. A swath of young people are swallowed into productive sectors and productive jobs that can ensure that they are moved off from the streets, because they're going to be a nuisance in the years to come. This can be a source of political instability in countries. And I'm not speaking this, I'm speaking this with a heavy heart, because I do know very well that sometimes we may try to play politics about these issues. But the real picture is that this is what has come to stay with us. When President Obama was addressing the African Union in 2015, he said, time is of essence. Can ensure that we begin to create jobs, because the young people will not spare you in a day when they are in massive numbers and you cannot create the jobs that are needed. Let's begin the industrialization process that we need right now.
Let's pick up this call. Hello?
Hello, Pastor.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, Pastor Chiluba.
Good evening. Who is calling and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you from Kitwe. My name is Ambassador Dorothy Nachilongo.
Ambassador?
Dorothy Nachilongo.
Please go ahead, ma'am.
I'm following your program very well.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are very interested.
Yes, ma'am.
You are doing a good job to educate Zambians, to take them back to the land.
Amen.
It's a very ambitious program.
Amen.
How do I register, Pastor Chiluba?
What you do, ma'am, the number on the middle actually, it's also being used for registration, 0962 965 883.
All right.
That is the number that is being used, and tomorrow they will be doing the registration and Wednesday, but we'll give you the program for Castor. By Wednesday we'll say something with my wife, and by Thursday the truck should be in Zambia. I would like my ambassador to be part of this program.
I'll be very grateful.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Amen.
We are not too late.
Are you?
Register the farm.
No, ma'am. I think, like I said, we have 1,850 people who registered. That was before COVID. But we are inviting even those who registered and those who are registering now that we should move together and be part of the program.
Excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
God bless you, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Amen. There is our ambassador.
Yes.
Looking at agriculture. I know, having served in diplomatic circles, she knows the importance of agriculture, though she didn't say about it.
Yes.
Besides, Mr. Chewe, if from Adam, God's responsibility was not to fly a jet or be a captain in a ship, he said, look after the land. Why is it that we think that Zambia, we should just go underground? We leave the land, we go underground and think copper will. I've always said, Mr. Chewe, here, that since independence, copper has not lifted our lives here, but agriculture will.
Yes.
Let's pick up this call we hear. Sorry. Hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Pastor.
What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Charles Tembo, and I'm calling from Chipata.
You are Charles?
Tembo.
Tembo from Chipata. Please go ahead, you are Tembo.
Good evening once again, Mr. Joe. The program that you are going to, the very good program,
Yes, sir.
especially that Zambia now needs to definitely to change from the copper-based economy to agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
But the concern now, like I'll give an example here in Uganda. We are in an agricultural-based economy,
Mm-hmm.
but I think we haven't been supported with the right policy by the government.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to Sparta right now, there's a lot of agricultural products that's going to Malawi, because in Malawi there's a lot of demand for poultry, for almost everything. But the system, I think we are lacking in terms of maybe forming cooperatives and maybe that will aggregate all the farmers so that they are able to bring all their produces, and the government should arrange that that sale should be done in a way that it's consolidated. But right now we are losing out because farmers will just take their things in the way the prices are not controlled, our farmers are losing out. So I was for the idea that maybe the Chamber of Commerce can bring all these farmers together, form one cooperative that will help them to have a market that they will appreciate. So I think the government needs to bring up some kind of policy that will help the farmers to come together and sell their produce in a right manner.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chewe, that is your area. Mr. Tembo says the government should come up with a policy of enhancing this agriculture sector.
Mr. Tembo is very right. I think he has bemoaned the lack of support that the farmers are having, but to what extent that I cannot know. But he has elaborated very well to say that we need to actually be brought into some arrangement of a cooperative, and so that people can begin to tap into that oneness of forging ahead in terms of capturing the market. He's saying that these things are being exported in Malawi and other parts of the world. As I said earlier on, I said agriculture is a low-hanging fruit, kind of a business where you can easily trade and export and sell to other countries that are in need of these, services and products that we are manufacturing and also producing from the farms in Zambia. So I think what you're talking is very right. The Chamber of Commerce, I have a friend of mine, John Samaras, who is the president of the Ndola Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And some of the things that he has kept on emphasizing that can we actually be able to help the SMEs, the small businesses? What we require is not, we may just require maybe a $10 million or some kind of money that we can begin to identify the potential that is within the membership and create synergies with these small, small and medium enterprises and begin to fund them, because what they are really yearning for is just some injection of some capital to run their businesses, able to export and raise revenue that can, and pay taxes to government, which can help the country to move forward. So it requires some kind of an arrangement. And the cooperative system is very good, because this is what was even used in Asia and other countries in terms of the developmental model, which helped them to reach where they have reached today. So it requires that they form these cooperatives, and where monies and resources are being channeled, so there can be some element of accountability, and for these partners, because when they're exporting as a block, as a group, it is easy for them to capture these external markets, other than briefcase companies just coming to steal from them and just cause a lot of disarray and dislocation in the way they're trading with them. So I think moving as a group, as an army of business-minded people in a cooperative, I think will help in terms of moving the economy forward.
That's right. As a matter of fact, Mr. Chewe, my wife and I are not just sitting idle. By the special grace of God, we have contacted our cooperating partners outside Zambia that as the Lord gives us the grace, there will be some funding coming in. And our interest is to look at my mother, to look at my father in Mwenilunga, in Kabompo. They have pieces of land. They have all these things, but they are not being funded. So Camnet TV, those who are in the database of Camnet TV, we even sent the names and everything to our expert in the US, in New York. They tabulated everything. We've got that printout. But I am very positive that by the grace of God, we should be able to lift this economy. I've got this strongest belief that if God can only raise even 10, 15,000 farmers who have farming at heart, this economy will go far.
That's very true.
It will go far.
That's very true.
Sorry, Mr. Chewe. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Goma here, Lambo Goma, calling from Airport Road.
Mr.
Goma Lambo from Airport.
Mr. Goma.
Airport Town.
Yes, Mr. Goma.
Congratulations, Pastor Joe and Mr. Chewe, very intelligent man. We need to affect people in our country.
Amen.
And what I want to register for customer, is it customer TC?
The what?
I want to become one of the members.
Yes, please. Just give us that number, which is ending with 883. You tell us, yes, 883-265, 0962 965 883. The number on the middle there.
Oh, yes.
If you register, Mr. Goma,
yes.
You go into the Camnet data system.
Yeah.
The Camnet data system, like I said, the Jewish people, by the special grace of God, will be coming to visit the Camnet institution, and we are going to be working with farmers like yourself and countrywide. We'll conduct seminars. We have professors in this same system. By the grace of God, we need people who are passionate like yourself.
Yes.
But register.
So when is going to be? When?
I didn't hear the question.
Now, I say, when is it going to happen? When this week or when?
When you register with Camnet TV,
Yes.
all the programs that my wife and I carry out, we make an advert.
Okay.
Even as the seed will be coming into the country, you will know about it. Because I know that in Solwezi and in other places, there are people who are selling castor seeds. That's not our seed. There is about 180 different types of seed. So if anyone buys that without our established institution, which is Life Brand Zambia, they are making a mistake. So anything that has to do with Camnet, it will be brought forward to the nation through Camnet.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
May God bless you.
May you be blessed too. You were born for greatness, Mr. Goma. Mr. Director, please give us some text messages before we are accused of just loving the people with phone calls. Thank you for this wonderful program. Job creation is inspirable from proper leadership management, just like the example you gave about Singapore. It's government's responsibility to create jobs through good leadership, like the examples you gave of Japan, China, South Korea, etc. Even the castor seed you have embarked on, you have offered good leadership. Zambia is worse today because of poor leadership. And if there is poor leadership, then there is a poor following. Because we should have, it's 50-50. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and Mr. Cheers. Is Chewe. Mr. Chewe. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and Mr. Chewe. Listening to the discussion, I wonder why we can't have a leader like Kagame who has no nonsense approach to Chinese who seem to be misbehaving and taking over the running of our country. I don't understand why there should be a Bank of China when they should transact business through the Bank of Zambia. Kagame kicks out such out of Rwanda. Well, I have no evidence on that and I can't comment. Good evening, Pastor and Mr. Chewe. I'm enjoying the program very much. I have a proposal under agriculture, but I didn't have a capital. Help if you can. Malakata from Chibombo. Well, Mr. Malakata, send your comments through that number I said. Pastor, thanks for the work. I've learned a lot from the presentation. Mr. Chewe, I appreciate your perspective. Continue educating Zambians. May God bless Camnet Missions. Thank you so much. Mr. Chewe, you are being appreciated there. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba. I like the program indeed. We need to go back to our land. But Pastor, how do we do it when we have no capital? Today, people, especially youths, are not in employment. Where do they start from? You are talking about $805. That is not for ordinary Zambian. How can they access those farming input? From Reverend Kapwepwe Mila, that is Chirundu border. Okay, let me answer this. Thank you, Mr. Director. No phone call, no text. You know what I love about this, Mr. Chewe?
Yes, sir.
I love people who say, we have no capital. How can we start?
That's right.
Now, I sit here. People are watching in Chirundu. People are watching in Solwezi. If I tell you that we didn't have money to start the TV station, people don't believe.
Yes.
You know, I always say to the church, the greatest blessing you can receive from God is an idea.
Yes.
God respects ideas,
Yes.
and he funds ideas.
That's right.
And most of the people, we fail even before we start,
Yes.
because I have no capital. What would you say to that? I am a product, Mr. Chewe, of venturing into things that I have no capital in.
You are very right. It's, what you have is the determination, the willpower, and good ideas attract resources. You invited me for this program. I didn't
Yes.
say, Pastor Chilwa, can you send me an air ticket or send me money?
Can you
I'm
imagine?
here. Public Policy Institute of Zambia was an idea before I even had a coin in my pocket.
You didn't have money.
It's just an idea put on paper. But I'm able to move to the studio from wherever I've come from to be here and able to go back, finance my trip, finance everything, expenses, fuel, everything that you require from the same ideas. Money is flowing. So one thing I should be able to encourage my brother or my sister who wrote that text is that you have one of the excellent opportunity. If you have an idea, the strong will of having that idea is a magnet for resources.
Come on now.
It will be able to attract resources to you by virtue of the fact that you have that strong idea. Even when you begin to share it. There was someone who preached a message some time back. I was reading a book. He said, if I had $1 million, he coined his message and went on the pulpit and titled the message, if I had $1 million, what will I do? Then he began to speak of what he would do with that $1 million if he had it. Before the message was coming to an end, a member of the church walked in front and says, I have $1 million for you. Please go and do what you want to do.
Really?
So it's an idea, but it sounded so well and so nice that the person who had the $1 million just let that money go to him. And so my encouragement to those people is say that idea is a God-given idea. What you need to do is pray about it. Resources will flow your way. The much you think, the much you pray about it, the much you concentrate in terms of trying to make connection with people, resources will meet you along the way.
Look at this, what you have said, Mr. Chewe. On Saturday, I received a phone call from outside this country. Somebody watched this program on the internet.
Yes.
Whatever they think of Camnet TV, I don't know, but they have good thoughts.
Yes.
Saturday, we received a phone call with my wife, and this man is saying, Pastor Chiluba, due to COVID in Europe, one of the prominent companies has pulled out from the satellite in Europe, and it has over 90 million viewers. Do you have $60,000? I said, for what? He says, if you have $60,000, Pastor, we will reserve that slot for you. You won't look for viewers. The whole Europe and Asia, they are watching on that channel, but they are pulling out. So if they pull out, slot in Camnet TV, because each time we look at Camnet TV and we hear the ideas, this could be a game changer in Europe. Now you can imagine, somebody is giving me that offer for $60,000, and in the meantime, I don't have $60,000. And this is what we are saying, that money follows ideas.
Yes.
How would, of all the television stations, only to be invited on a Camnet to say you sit on a, and it's not just a simple bouquet, we are going to be sitting on Sky. So when you are in Europe, Mr. Chewe, you'll be watching Camnet live like this.
Which is wonderful.
And in the meantime, some people think we are to the level of CNN.
That's right.
Just ideas.
Yes, ideas, yes.
Yeah.
Because the equipment that is in this studio, we had the privilege of touring your studios. It should be last year or the other year when Yunus Segai came from Dubai, when he came to preach in one of the conferences.
Oh, that was the year before last year.
Organized by Pastor Mwansa. I was ministering that conference as well as Pastor Mwansa invited that guest from Dubai.
Yes, yes.
But we toured this property and we saw the massive investment that you have,
Yeah.
multi-million dollar investments.
Yes,
But that's
sir.
from an idea.
Just
which
from
you
an
conceived-
idea.
Which you conceived. And I believe that every person who is watching us and who is listening to us has the same excellent opportunity. If only he can look inwardly and says, what do I have? What I have is this idea. You can sell that idea. You can bring you money. You can popularize it by speaking and talking about it on a
Absolutely.
daily
And
basis.
this is the idea we are saying. By the special grace of God, Zambia's economy will bounce back.
That's right.
I have given it, Mr. Chewe. I don't know. I don't need any discouragement or encouragement.
Yes.
I've just given it 3 years.
That's right.
3 years, if you like our ambassador there gets on board, Mr. Tembo gets on board, Mr. Goma gets on board, and all the Zambians that have got the passion to develop this, I can tell you, Mr. Chewe, 3 years is too big.
That's right.
It's too big because we will rake in money in this economy. And the beauty is the money will be in the pockets of the people, not the government.
No.
Whoever has a farm, they grow 1 hectare, 2 hectares, the money will be theirs. $50,000 idinaba tembo kuchipata. What
right.
can he buy?
He can buy anything. He can buy an aeroplane. He can buy anything that he has to. If he wants to fly into Lusaka, he can fly into Lusaka. The question remains is, when we hear of these opportunities, we want to remain behind, standing on the fence, watching what will happen to the other person. When the person becomes rich, that's when you want to jump in.
Can you imagine?
That opportunity is already gone. The market is saturated. You lost the opportunity of moving in at a time when opportunities were begging on your doorstep. So what is that? People need to be very proactive and move quickly and take up these opportunities so they can actually realize a better destiny.
And why we have brought this seed at this time, Mr. Chewe, do you know that castor, it doesn't need a lot of irrigation like cabbage?
Yes.
This is October. The first rainfall in October, November, just that, the moisture in the ground will make the plant shoot. Within 6 months, they will harvest something. Within 12 months, by next year, December, this time, some people will be sitting on $100,000 straight from that. You don't need to water it. So we are saying this rain season, let's utilize it.
That's right.
Others will have enough money now to sink their boreholes so that even in June, they can be able to grow castor.
That's right.
Now, the beauty about this castor, Mr. Chewe, once you grow it, for the next 5 years, it will be giving you harvest every 6 months. You pocket your money. Every 6 months, 25,000 per hectare. Every 6 months. And you go for 5 years. After 5 years, then you cut all the trees there and start the process again. So it can only be for 5 years, grown. After 2 meters, when it settles there, you'll be getting your money. 5 years, you'll have made a lot of money. You are not losing on it.
No. Actually, you're investing. And that becomes now your fruit. You're actually feeding from that fruit.
Absolutely.
On a yearly basis, it's giving you the returns. You're getting the returns. But the question is, you do your cost and benefit analysis very well. That the benefits outweigh the cost. In the initial investments, yes, there's pain in letting money go away without seeing the harvest. But the harvest is in your mind because you have put in something that you know that your return will come at the end of the day. And I'm encouraging people to actually move that direction. The pastor that you're sharing, let them move that direction. There are a lot of areas in agriculture where we can actually turn this economy around. 3 years is just too much. My friend John Samaras, the president of the Ndola
Chamber of Commerce,
somebody say that 2 years is enough to turn around the economy. Why? It's because of the passion, the energy, the vigor, and the vibrance to move in quickly and be able to get your opportunities.
In fact, you are speaking like the Egyptian. When we left the studio, I said, you know what? I believe that within 3 years, we can turn the economy. He says, Pastor, what 3 years? If you have dedicated people and farmers, within 1.5 years, you'll see the fruit.
Yes.
You can turn this economy, and your economy is too small.
Yes.
That once you have dedicated people, there will be enough money in the economy.
Yes.
You know, but because of, Muribu Montofidia,
Yes.
now I paid at 3 years.
Yes.
But I know that within a year or 2 years, we will change this,
And we require most especially the young people, I think the youths to be able to jump in and create and get these opportunities that are being floated right here on Camnet TV. You remember there was a first call that came, my thought were just suspended, but I need to finish this.
By Ambassador Dorothy
Yes.
Nachlongo.
So you talked about it, you asked a question about what are you going to do about these youth? Is it a blessing or a curse? And I was in the process of explaining that the youth are a blessing or a curse, depending on how you look at it and how much you're able to invest in their opportunities. They may turn out to be actually a blessing. Because the youth of Africa, in respect of the youth of Zambia, they're actually very innovative, great ingenuity of thought. These are IT savvy. When it comes to the issue of development, these can easily catch up and move ahead. You know that even a child who's just 5 years old, you give the phone, he's able to operate the phone like as if he's the one who actually created it.
You are talking about 5 years? Our first granddaughter, she's turning into 4 now, below 5.
Yes.
You know, I give her this. She knows even the password. She goes to the games. She says, no, I don't want this. She starts teaching me,
Yes.
the owner of the phone. Less than 5 years.
So that is a creative mind of the young people that we have. Now, here are the statistics that you need to know, Pastor. The World Bank has projected that, I'm talking in respect of Zambia, 346,000 youths will be in need of jobs every year between now and 2030. Every year. 346,000 young people will be in need of jobs up to 2030. From 2030, that number will double.
Really?
It will be now in the range of 760,000 looking for jobs up to 2050. If we don't create opportunities for them right now, we have a challenge. This is a picture that is gloomy for the rest of Africa. An event that we don't invest in these opportunities. So when you have an agricultural project like that one, we expect that more young people
Will take
must
advantage.
take advantage, ensure that they shield themselves away from this impending unemployment holocaust that is about to hit us if we don't put much of our investments in these areas. So it requires concerted effort, both in the mining sector, in the agriculture sector, in the tourism sector. Let's develop our mining sector. Pastor, I'm also privileged to sit on the board of the FESMAS, Federation of Small-Scale Miners in Zambia, as a national publicity secretary. And we have this huge...
That's where Joe Mwansa, evangelist,
That's why he's
belongs.
the president, yes. He's our president. I sit in that board, which is an elective board for 2 years under the Ministry of Mines. We have an excellent opportunity. So many gemstones that deck our country, so many minerals that deck our nations. But we need a lot of investment going in these areas. These miners have got plots where they have got minerals that can be extracted, gemstones that can be extracted, but require machinery. They require heavy investment of capital. In this COVID right now, miners are suffering because the markets are closed. Where do they run? Where do they go? They require a lot of support from government. So expect that. These are also low-hanging fruits. The world has advanced right now. You have got now these satellite images. Pastor, I don't need to get someone from Ministry of Mines to go and dig and check if you have got emerald, or if you have got tourmaline, if you have got topaz, if you have got every condoram, gemstone. All it requires is just to shine the satellite there with plotted coordinates. It can calculate how much diamond you have there, how much emerald you have there. Someone is sitting in China.
Yeah.
He just zooms the satellite on your plot and is able to pick the minerals that are there. Even if you calculate the quantity, you're able to come up with the mining rights. How many minerals do you have right there in the soil? It can tell you you are having 700 million carats of emeralds in your mine. He's seated in America.
In fact,
He's able to plot the coordinates.
one America told me that their equipment, they are able to see about 4.5 kilometers underground,
Yes.
including the formation of stones. They can tell right from Santiago. They are looking into the...
Our general secretary of the federation, he's got an emerald mine. Right in the US, they're just asking for the coordinates for the place. They plotted on the system. They produced a report and told me, say that your mine has got so much millions, grams of emerald.
Really?
We're moving in. Just as soon as COVID is over, we are coming to set a plant. A washing plant, we have designed everything where we'll be washing the emeralds and everything. We are coming to your mine. This is how much worth of your mine is.
Zambia is.
Yes.
Jehovah God.
So we can't be mourning and crying and gnashing our teeth about the challenges we face. We have a huge potential in the mining sector. Such a huge potential. If only these small-scale miners can be supported,
And I'm
the
told,
sky is the limit.
I am told that actually the whole Zambia, God has endowed us with precious stones. Kalomo, Livingstone, Mukushi. I'm told that we have vast resources.
Pastor, if you're driving to Kalomo, just living in Kalomo district, you're going to drive 10 kilometers as you're going to Mapatizi, you begin to see colored stones all over on the surface. Reading up to Sianzovu, you see the whole place is decked with blue stones around that area. How much you look at Lundazi, the whole place I'm privileged to be to have a bit of some partnership with some mining place there where we are mining in moonstone. It's called Rainbow Moonstone, the only stone that we have of that mine in Zambia. The president of the Gemstone Association, Pastor Mwansa Joseph, had the privilege of going to America. He carried just a few samples. They were selling $10 per gram, right from our plot, $10 per gram. Now you look at the huge potential that this market has, and he was saying that if I had carried much of this, how much money was we going to make?
And
just 5 kilo would have come up with $50,000.
And we say Zambia is poor. Is that a correct statement? That Zambia is poor?
Zambia is poor by bank balance, but is rich by mineral resource. The book balance or the bank balance cannot be the determinant of your poverty. Because the definition of wealth is the state of your being. Without resources, you are a wealthy person. Given resources, you are a rich person. So in our own definition of what we call poverty, it should not be mistaken that it is the issue of putting our ideas, our creative ideas, our brain power into tapping what is in the ground and taking to where it's supposed to be sold, which is the marketplace. FESMAS has done an excellent job of ensuring that opening up the market in Asia, opening up the market in the US, and these places are where people can go and sell these gemstones.
Hey.
So we are creating these opportunities. What it requires that we need support from our government to ensure that they're able to push in, set seed money for people to hire caterpillars, for people to get diesel, to begin to power these areas. You can come up with the caterpillars. Just the ZNS is actually stocked with these earth movement machines. So as small-scale miners in need of these earth movement machines, the front loaders, the caterpillars, all these, that can help us actually remove this earth and get and review what is in the soil. And
they should do it sometimes, pankongole.
Yes.
Remove the earth and do the excavation. Once you sell, you pay them.
Pastor, do you know the excellent thing about it? Most of the gemstone mines are owned by Zambians. Zambians own these gemstone mines.
Really?
If they export these to the international market, what happens? The 100% revenue
will come back to
our economy. There's no externalization of resources. If you talk of these big mining conglomerates, they only pay us in taxes. They don't bring back the dollars.
And the money goes back to where they come from.
If the copper price on the London Metal Exchange is going at $8,000 per ton, that $8,000 per ton won't come back to Zambia. Imagine if that money, if you sell 50 tons of copper and bring all the receipts into Bank of Zambia, the kwacha will appreciate overnight. But our currency is bleeding every day because much of what we sell out of the country is 100% externalized and only send back the money in terms of meeting the budgets, budget allocations of salaries and paying little small things, spare parts for actually repairing those machines. Much of the money is going to build Europe and not building the countries, our country Zambia. So we need to actually invest in our own people. Our own gemstone miners, the local people, need to have these kind of investments so that we can take this country forward.
Jehovah God, we can go on and on and on and on. This is national matters. And being on national matters, Mr. Chewe, I'm so blessed. This is what makes my heart bleed. To live in a country that is so rich and we are underestimating our potential.
That's right.
But I think time has come when we need to come together.
That's right.
With or without the government, let's come together like the people at the Tower of Babel to say, let's build Zambia.
That's right.
And the government will give the support. They will give the blocks. They will give this.
That's right.
I am so delighted that you came. Time fails us because we are into news time.
That's right.
Mr. Chewe will call you again. Don't be tired of us. And you came all the way from Copper Belt to just appear on National Matters.
That's right.
May the Lord bless you.
Bless you, Pastor, too, for having given the opportunity to speak.
Amen. You were born for greatness. Please keep me some plots for mining.
Definitely.
I'll be doing cast and mining.
That's right.
On top, I put caster. Underground,
definitely.
I go and get the stones.
You are comfortable in both areas.
Oh my goodness. May the Lord bless you. Keep watching Kamnet TV. And remember, Kamnet TV is not just another channel. I've been your host on these national matters and my guest, Mr. Chewe. May God richly bless you and keep you. Amen.